Hey, I'm Christine, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a healthier version of blueberry muffins. So what I have here is some flour. This is einkorn flour, and if that's something that you can't find at your local market, that's understandable. It's a little bit of a different flour, but you can just use unbleached white flour. That's fine too. Or if you're doing a gluten-free diet, you could try gluten-free 1-to-1 baking mix. I just haven't tried it for this recipe, but that is an option. And so that's my dry mixture. So I've got 2 cups of flour in here. I have my whisk handy. That helps to just, lighten up the flour and blend the dry ingredients. We also have some, as far as our wet ingredients, I have a 1/4 cup of oil. You can just use a neutral oil like avocado oil or olive oil or, refined coconut oil. Then I've got a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I made my own buttermilk. It's a non-dairy buttermilk. This is just a mixture of 3/4 of a cup of almond milk mixed with 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar, and you just let that stand at room temperature. I have 2 pastured eggs here. I've also melted a 1/4 cup of butter. You can just use your favorite butter, non-dairy or regular butter, and I'm just gonna let that cool off. I have nice marble countertops here, so I can let that cool quickly. And then our dry ingredients, this is a tablespoon of baking powder along with a 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. And then for my sweetener, I have a 1/4 cup of light brown sugar and 1/2 cup of raw cane sugar. Over here, this is a topping mixture, which is a combination of a little bit of butter, cinnamon, some sugar, and I'll give you the recipe for that below. You're gonna actually get the recipe for everything below. And then last but not least, of course, we need blueberries. So we have 1 cup of fresh blueberries. I like to use the fresh rather than the frozen. And I also have a little bit of extra flour here that I'm gonna toss the blueberries in so that they don't sink to the bottom of my muffins. Oh, and we can't forget my other little fun addition is an orange. I'm gonna zest the orange. I have a little microplane zesting tool, and I'm gonna take the zest off from this orange and add that to the batter as well. Okay, so for our dry ingredients, here we go. We're just gonna mix together our baking powder and the salt with the flour. And like I said, the whisk just it almost acts like a sifter as far as it helps to lighten up the flour. It helps to break up those little lumps of flour. And then we're also gonna add the sugar now. Get that all mixed together. Break up any lumps in the brown sugar there. Once that's all blended, then I like to just make a little well in the middle. I know a lot of people, will make a separate bowl mixture of their wet ingredients, but I'm kind of a little lazy when it comes to that. So I'm gonna just put my oil straight up in there and my DIY non-dairy buttermilk, along with my eggs, which, kind of get beat right there, vanilla, and my melted butter. I like to get every last drop, so I always have a batter scraper handy. And then we're just gonna mix this all together. Now you don't wanna over-mix it, otherwise your muffins could end up tough, so I'm just gonna blend this together just until I don't see any clumps of flour. These muffins make the perfect, mid-afternoon snack or a nice healthy breakfast. Okay. There we go. Now at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and zest my orange right in there, my orange zest. This just adds a nice fresh flavor. You could do the same with a lemon if you want. Smells so good. I always feel like cooking is like aromatherapy. When the steam rises up from your cooking, it's like a facial. You can tell I love being in the kitchen. And if you're watching this, you probably love being in the kitchen too. The great thing about blueberries is that they're really rich in antioxidants, and yet they're a low sugar fruit, which is great for people who are watching their sugar. And by the way, these recipes are always adaptable. If you want to use a different kind of sweetener in here, you can do that. Some people like coconut sugar. The one thing you don't want to do is try to replace a dry sweetener with a liquid sweetener. It would not work to try to use maple syrup instead of a dry sugar. All right, so as you can see from this whole orange and all that zesting, we really don't get that much. It's literally like probably, I don't know, 1/4 of a teaspoon. It's not that much, but it really does add a nice little pop of flavor. All right, so we'll gently fold that in there, and next we're gonna fold in the blueberries. And as I mentioned, we've got this little strategy so that the blueberries do not sink to the bottom of our muffins. So I'm gonna put them in a bowl with a little bit of flour and just toss them just to get them lightly coated. And by the way, I also suggest keeping some blueberries on reserve to put on the top of your muffins. Just looks really pretty. All right, so let's add in our blueberries. We don't want to get all that extra flour though, so you kind of have to pick them out of the flour. And again, this is very, gentle folding. We don't want to crush our blueberries into the mixture or get too much of that flour. But this little strategy really helps in just having a perfect looking little blueberry muffin. All right, so we're just going to gently fold those in there. Kids usually love baking, so that's something that they always enjoy. All right, so we got the blueberries in there. We got some extra blueberries for the top. I got my ice cream scoop, and I have my muffin pan lined with unbleached parchment liners. And you don't want to go crazy on the amount of batter you're putting in there. It's really just, maybe 3/4 full, because if you make them too high, they're going to overflow and then get this kind of, funny muffin top with this particular recipe. I'm going to make sure you scoop up a nice little amount of blueberries for each one. Okay, now I'm going to take my extra blueberries and put them on the top. You don't have to go crazy, but just maybe a few. Make it look pretty. And feel free to use other types of fruits if you want to use fresh cranberries or raspberries. Kind of change it up. There we go. All right, last but not least, we're going to put our streusel topping. Okay, so just about a 1/2 teaspoon. I'm not using a lot of this on top. If you use too much, it can actually make the blueberry muffin sink in the middle. So just a light touch. And having this chilled in advance really helps, because then it's going to get more crispy as it bakes. So now they're ready for the oven. I'm going to bake them at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 18 to 20 minutes. All right, so here they are, fresh out of the oven. They smell amazing, and I know you're gonna love this recipe. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up, and thanks for watching.